Hello and welcome to another Mage Tower guide. This time we're going to be going over the Havoc Demon Hunter. So as always, we'll start with our consumables. We're going to need flasks of the 7th demon, potions of prolonged power, crit food of some kind, and drums of fury or the mountain. Either one, it's the same thing. So moving on to talents. This fight is actually broken down into 2 different parts where you can actually switch talents in the middle. However, I'm lazy AF, and therefore I just did these talents here as they give you a nice build that is good for both Phase 1 and for Phase 2. So if you want to do 2 different talent setups, that's totally fine. Just know that this is just what I used for the entire fight. Anyway, so Blind Fury, Demonic Appetite, Soul Rending, and Demonic combine a package that really helps with your self-healing. This is going to be extremely important as you're going to be taking a lot of passive damage that you can't really stop throughout Phase 1, and you're going to be needing a way to heal that back up. So especially for Phase 1, these will be absolutely necessary. I used First Blood as it is a very easy to use and consistent talent, Nemesis as it just helps boost your single target damage, and Master of the Glaive, which is a fairly useless talent in the first phase, but is absolutely needed in the second phase. The only thing I would really switch out for the first phase would be Fell Eruption for Nemesis and Unleashed Power for Master of the Glaive. Both of these talents just give you a little bit more control through stuns, which can help reduce the amount of overall damage you're taking in that first phase against Xylem. In the second phase, you can use Chaos Blades, but I just felt like Demonic was actually still better for dealing with the adds, as that was the only real thing I was worried about in terms of the DPS check component of the second phase. So whichever thing you want to do, feel free to go with that, but I do feel that the build that I used required the least amount of finagling, and if you're lazy like me, just made things a lot easier. Also, one more thing in preparation for this, I'd highly suggest getting DBM Challenges, which is a plugin for deadly boss mods. One of these strategies I use requires knowing exactly when an ability is going off, and DBM Challenges helps you track these things. So before we get into the kill video, let's quickly go over the fight mechanics. So the first person we're going to be fighting is Xylem, who has a couple of abilities. The first one is Frostbolt, which is an interruptible cast that just deals damage. It does not slow you despite the name. After a couple casts of Frostbolt, he will teleport away and instantly cast Razor Ice and Comet Storm. Razor Ice is all this ice that you see around me, and if you touch it, you will instantly die. And Comet Storm is that blue circle underneath all that is just constantly raining damage down on top of me. We'll go over in more detail how to handle it, but that's just kind of what is happening there. After a couple cycles of this, he will cast Mirror Images. This will place mirror images all over the encounter area and hide himself somewhere amongst them. At the same time, a purple mist will kind of fill the area, which will make you slow throughout the entire platform, as well as make you start taking huge amounts of ticking damage. The mirror images will start casting Prismatic Shock, which if you're close to them when this goes off, will knock you back. However, you can kill them, which will make them drop a protective barrier that while standing in it will heal you back up, but it will not get rid of the slow. When we use the strategy that I used in my kill video, we won't have to deal with any of their mechanics, but it is good to know in case something goes wrong. Moving on to the next phase with Xylem, he will have 3 abilities he'll cycle through. Arcane Barrage, which just kind of takes the place of Frostbolt. It's interruptible and does a lot of damage. Shadow Barrage, which is where he'll summon all these purple balls and you'll have to dodge them. And Draw Power. Now Draw Power is something that you absolutely need to interrupt as soon as he starts casting it. Otherwise, he'll start gaining stacks that increase his damage by 10% and will not go away for the rest of the time that you're fighting Xylem. So this has to take priority over everything else. And that's all the mechanics for Xylem. After you've gone through all of this a couple times, you'll eventually be able to get him down to 10%, which will then move you into the next phase of the fight. Now you'll be fighting against Corrupting Shadows. The first thing it can do is drop a puddle of darkness on the ground that will start slowly spreading out. If you touch this, it will deal a lot of damage to you as well as slow you, so make sure you're staying out of it at all times. The only actual ability he'll cast is called Seed of Darkness. Make sure you do not interrupt this. Instead, run away as far as you can from him, and once the debuff falls off, you will spawn 3 adds which are called Darkness Within. They will start moving back to the boss, and if they reach him, it will heal a large portion of his health. So these have to die before they go back, otherwise it's going to be pretty much a wipe. You only have enough room on the platform for maybe 3 sets of adds, so make sure that you're also dealing as much damage as you can to the boss as well. And that's pretty much the fight, so let's go ahead and go over my kill of it. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to try to do as much damage as I can to Xylem. So I'll be starting off with my Metamorphosis, as well as my On-Use Trinket, Nemesis, Artifact ability, and everything else. I-Beam as well. And just try to pump in as much damage as I can. And now we're going to be getting Razor Ice, so what we're going to do is Chaos Nova, Double Jump, Glide, and Fel Rush out. And the reason why we use Chaos Nova is because it has a chance to spawn soul fragments, and not only do these heal you, but they also reduce the cooldowns of Chaos Nova and I-Beam by 5 per each one. So these are very important, and the Razor Ice give you the best chance of generating these. So for every single one of these, we're going to want to Chaos Nova if we can, and then just jump right out and go right back to the boss. So we want to try to maximize as much healing as we can with I-Beam after Metamorphosis has fallen off, so we are not too low going into the intermission with the mirror images, as well as just keeping our health up when we go into Razor Ices as well. So I'll be interrupting some of these Frostbolts as well. So there's a Chaos Nova, Glide out, and back to the boss. So you can see I'm still at like half health here, a little low. I'm going to hold off a little bit on I-Beam, and now I'm going to use it. And boom, right back up to full health. So make sure you're using your I-Beams appropriately to make sure that you can maximize the health that you have. So here you see I'm about to go into phase 2. I'm going to run to the middle of the room, and this is why DBM Challenges is so useful, and just double Fel Rush to get right to him before anything really becomes a problem. Very, very useful to have DBM Challenges specifically for that. So here we're just dodging things and waiting for them to go away. And now at this point it's just best to wait for draw power, and that was it. Immediately interrupted. So make sure you're absolutely watching out for that. And right there I just used that stun to just help reduce some of that damage. Then getting right back to Xylem, using I-Beam to go ahead and get some of that healing back. Or some of that health back, I should say. There was another draw power, immediately interrupted, and then just kind of dealing with this damage the best you can. Really managing your health in this phase is kind of one of the most important things, so making sure that you're not going too gung-ho with either Chaos Nova or your I-Beam is very important. So I saw that he was about to cast the next intermission right there, so I started running back to the middle of the room, so I could easily get back to Xylem. Trying to do it where you're actually moving from one ad to the next is really challenging with Fel Rush, so I highly suggest doing it the way that I'm doing, so you don't have to know exactly how far away you have to be from the mirror images. It just makes it way easier to do it this way. Also, be very careful with your I-Beams in this phase, as you don't want to start doing it right when he's about to cast the barrage, as it will just wreck you, as you won't be able to move during I-Beam. So you would need a cancel macro, which you don't want to have to cancel it, that's for sure. So running back over to Xylem, getting my health back. And as you can see, these two phases kind of blend after the first intermission, where he'll start doing Frostbolt sometimes, and then do a Razor Ice, and then do another mirror image, and then go back to the barrage phase. But that's the end of the first phase. We're done with Xylem. This would be where you could change your talents if you so chose to do that. Obviously, like I said before, I won't be doing that. But if you want to, this would be the time. And now we just wait through this RP. So here we have Corrupting Shadows. What we're going to do is we're going to pull him to the side of the room, which is why I'm standing right on the edge. You can't fall off, by the way, so don't worry about it too much. And here we want to burst and do as much damage as we possibly can. So there's Metamorphosis, Drums, my potion, and just trying to apply as much damage as possible. Nemesis, everything. This is really the only time you're going to be getting a lot of time up on the boss before you cast Seed of Darkness. So try to get them as much of it, as much damage as you can in right now. So there's Seed of Darkness. I'm going to run away, wait for this to drop off. And the first thing I'm going to do is use my glaive and then go into the stun and try to do as much damage as I possibly can. So I don't have I-beam for this one, which isn't a problem for the first one as they have a pretty long way to go. So I'm just going to be kind of getting them down as quickly as I can. So once this one is down, I'll be running to the edge of the creep so that he doesn't drop that next darkness too far away from the first one. Now what I should have done is moved back to the edge, but this was actually the first time I got to this phase on the Demon Hunter, so I hadn't really mentally prepared for it for that sense. So I kind of correct myself here, move back to the edge, and I'll just kind of move around the edge from here. Again, just trying to do as much damage as I can when I'm up on Corrupting Shadows. And you'll notice he still does do physical damage. He does about 5% per hit, so your health is still important here, so make sure you're not standing in the shadow at all, if you can avoid it. So again, getting as far away as I can, where it's not kind of be dragging through the shadow. Doing as much damage with I-beam and then stunning them. Make sure you're not stunning right as they spawn, as it does have a delay right when they spawn. They don't immediately start moving. It's better to start with the glaive, do a little bit of damage, and then use your stun. So right here, it gets really close. I wasn't getting lucky with crits at first, but at the end I do, so that definitely helped. Running back over to the edge. Again, trying to do as much damage as I can, using my Nemesis one last time, and doing as much damage again to the boss. So we'll get one more set of adds, and the second we'll get him down pretty low right here. And this will be the last possible adds we can get, otherwise we'll just be running out of space. So we'll get him down to just almost 10%, or like right around 10%. We'll run away, and again, there's not much space for these, so we'll want to be doing as much of our burst as we can here. Try to get these last ones down. Get out the stun. Make sure we're keeping the glaive slow applied at all times. And just finishing off these adds. And now we'll just, again, try to conserve space just as you were before. And just slowly start backing up. But outside of that, it's just racing him down and finishing him off. So if you're around my item level, you'll probably get the 3 sets of adds. If you have a much higher item level, you might just get 2. But he does have a good amount of health. So this is kind of a fun one. A lot kind of going on. Most of the challenges in that first phase. So once you get that down, like again, this was the first time I had gotten to it on the Demon Hunter. I have done this one before, obviously. I've done this one on the Arms Warrior, and I've done it on Frost Death Knight as well at this point as of recording this. So I've had some experience with it. The second phase really isn't that challenging. It's just more of a DPS race. So good stuff. Get yourself your Flame Glaives. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And yeah, outside of that, I will see you guys in the next video, and hopefully it won't take so long for me to get the next one out. Alright guys, bye.